Welcome to Meet the Candidate. I'm Bianca Mewborn, freelance journalist and contributing correspondent to the Daily Reflector and the Standard newspapers. And today I am with Commissioner Will Barnes of Grifton, who is running for the mayor of Grifton. Commissioner Barnes, welcome.
Well, thank you. How you doing?
I am awesome. How about yourself?
Just lovely.
Can you tell me a bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. Grifton native, technically I was born in Greenville at the hospital, but as soon as I left the hospital, they took me home to Grifton. I was raised in Grifton for my entire life. I did move out for about 3, maybe 4 years while I went to Greenville, woohoo, at East Carolina, while I went to college. And then even before I finished up college, I was back at Grifton. I've always been there. It's been a part of my life. My nieces and nephews have moved into town now. My kids, 3 of the 4 are still in town, so it's just part of who we are. That's my mom and dad raised us all there, so we try to stay in. I'm gonna stay there.
What was your major when you went to college?
Back then, it was just called industrial technology. Now you got industrial technology with bukus and bukus of different minors and concentrations. But when I was there, mine was industrial technology with design and drafting. But now you do engineering, and it's quite in depth now and specialized.
Commissioner Barnes, why are you interested in running for mayor of Grifton?
Been on the board for quite a few years now. That is great. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But I think hopefully as the mayor, I might be able to give it a little bit more guidance. I give kudos to our current mayor, Billy Ray. I'm talking about he's done a lot of good. He's brought us through Hurricane Floyd and with the rebuilds and stuff. He's done great as far as doing that, helping with the infrastructure and everything. But now we got all the new construction coming in. We got new families coming in. I think it's more time now to start kind of gearing it towards family needs. And we got the rebuilding and the baseline started stuff, but let's try to get something to do to build it up as far as not only family activities. I don't want to take it back to the way when I was little and growing up. I know we'll never get back to that as far as kids being able to go up and down the streets and have a good time. You're not worried about somebody getting snatched or anything like that.
Right.
But I would like to have it. We had a Parks and Recreation program. We used to go to the park for a couple weeks every year, and all the kids got together and we'd play out there, and you didn't have to worry about it. We actually, when I lived there, you used to just walk down to the park, and you were enrolled in the little program. And I'd love to see it get back to stuff to where families can go and utilize programs like that, get us some athletic fields or something along those lines, and gear it in that direction. And instead of just let's build up, let's get money, let's get tax base in, get our tax base built up and put the money in the bank, which is great. We're one of the few towns, and there again, I got to give credit where credit's due to the past town managers and Billy Ray, as far as we're not one of the towns that's in the red. We've managed to stay in good standings on most everything as far as budgets, and we're not going bankrupt or anything like that, but I think it's time to start reinvesting it. Instead of investing it in the bank, kind of investing it into the community and stuff.
Absolutely. Can you speak to some of your strengths? What are they?
I listen, honestly. I run my mouth a lot, but I do listen a lot. And it's kind of like with my kids, I've always told them, I got a boy and a girl that are the same age. When they got in trouble, they did something, I tell them there's 3 sides to the story. I said, now one of them's a boy and one's a girl, my 2 littlest. And I say there's going to be his side, there's going to be her side, and there's going to be the truth. And none of the 3 of them are the same.
Right.
And you need to have the willingness to hear both sides of a story.
Absolutely.
You need to be, when we had the solar farm get put in, you had the pro solar farm. This is the one out by the golf course. The people there, everybody's pushing it. And then you had the people that, honestly, that didn't want it. And they all have legitimate arguments. They'll have the documentation to back it up. But in the long run, you need to really sit down and boil it down to how's it going to affect the ones immediately, in Grifton. for lack of better words, the newest solar farm that went that's going out on Henry that just got voted in by the county. It doesn't affect Grifton as far as it's outside of our ETJ. The town of Grifton commissioners, we have no vote. Mayor has no vote or anything that goes into what's happening. But I went to the vote on that one at the board meeting and just sat back and listened, and you'd hear all the people for it and the ones against it. Mm-hmm. And they all got legitimate arguments. I own the land, I should be able to do what I want to with it.
Right.
Granted. But then you get the other side that comes in that says, but yet what you're doing on your land is really going to affect my land, because I necessarily don't want to wake up and see solar panels every morning.
Right.
And then you see where people come in that, we did research and yada yada this, and it shows that when solar farms went in, that the property values didn't drop. Property values actually went up. But the catch is, solar panels and solar farms like that are a newer concept.
They are.
And so if you do your research and go back, let's just say, all right, we're going to take the property values compared to before the solar farm of 10 years ago, and the property values after a solar farm of 3 years ago or 5 years ago, and see if the property values went up. Well, guess what? Everybody's property values went up during COVID. They all doubled. So it's just a matter of, it might have doubled if you had a solar farm there. It might have gone up double, but now if you got a solar farm there, it might only go up 20 or 50%. Mm-hmm. But yet when they get up there and they do their advertisement, they're going to sell you it goes up. It goes up. And they're not going to divulge all that stuff, in my opinion. But there's two sides of that story. How's it going to benefit those around it? Who knows? In the long run, one guy said solar farms make good neighbors. You don't have to worry about hearing any racket. You don't have the loud radios. You don't have this.
Definitely
you don't have
quiet.
that. They're quiet. No problem. And so he was all for it. The one across from the golf course. Then you get other people, they just don't want to wake up and see it. There again, I get to see the one outside the golf course every time, or country club every time I drive out of my driveway. That's why it's just something else that's out there. To me, it just, you don't even think twice about it anymore. But I'm not going to say if I was for it or against it. That wasn't for me to make a call on. But it's just interesting to hear both sides of the story. And everybody's got legitimate arguments. And I think that's what you need to do, is hear the arguments. Listen to what people have to say. I'm not in a role as a commissioner, and I don't want to be in a role as a mayor to go out and, quote unquote, force my beliefs or force stuff in this direction.
Right.
I want to take what person A has to say and person B has to say, and let's see if we can't come to a common good out of it. It's politics in general has just got way too divided. It's my way or the highway type situation. Nobody wants to work together and go to a common goal or anything like that anymore.
That part.
And that's kind of reasons I want to be the mayor, to to be able to help things out like this and hopefully keep it in that. And that is my strong point, I hope.
Well, I definitely think being able to listen and definitely just speaking up is a strength. Why should the citizens of Grifton vote for you?
There again, I think it's because I'm willing to listen to the citizens. I'm not necessarily trying to impose what I think is truly the best. You got to hear all sides. You got to be able to take it in. It's not just because the town manager said it's the next greatest thing. Listen to it. As being a commissioner, I did not vote for a bunch of the last budgets as approving them. And the reason is because of the water bills going up. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to see what would happen with the water bills once they get the new meters in and once all these new subdivisions come in. And so I refused to vote for and approving a budget based off of those water bill increases. But that being said, government, big government, state government, you got to meet certain mandates. And that's things you don't see looking at it from the outside unless you come to all the meetings to find out all the stuff.
Right.
But the government comes in and they can literally come in and say, you're going to charge this for a water bill. I think it just happened in Aden not too long ago. When they got audited, they came in and said, you got to increase your water bills from this to this. We haven't had to do that. We've tried to stay ahead of keeping the state out of our business, which I love, because I don't think the state needs to be in our business anyway.
Right.
but that you shouldn't be losing water, but you shouldn't be overpaying for the water either. And so I new town manager feels that once we get the new meters in, we shouldn't even have to worry about the rates, because when when your meters and water meters and gas meters get old, that just means they're letting more water by than it's actually getting registered. So if we increase the rates and all of a sudden all the water meters get replaced, and that tightens up the tolerances on it, so not only you got a rate increase, you find out you're using twice as much water, that's going to impact some people really hard. You can't have stuff like that.
People. Commissioner Barnes, can you describe a time where you faced a challenging situation?
There again, I think it really comes to the listening to your constituents and voting for what they were, the solar farm when it went out across from the golf course. I stood up and said, I was against it. And it's, personally, I don't think it was really, me personally, I didn't care. But more constituents came to me and said they didn't want it. And so that's my voice. I'm going to rely to what the constituents want. I want to hear what the people have to say. And there again, it's a family town. I want to hear what the families have to say, because I think it's real important to keep everybody together instead of just A, B, and C because I was told that, or one person's agenda, even with not only local but all the way up. It just don't seem right to me.
Can you tell me about a time you had to work with a difficult colleague?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time. But it's not only from government. I'm talking about, you just got that in general with life.
You do.
I don't know how much you know about me outside the commissioners, being a town commissioner, but my 8 to 5 job is I'm an insurance adjuster actually I'm called an appraiser, but I'm a licensed adjuster. I just specialize in automotive and marine and like campers, RVs and stuff. So you're constantly dealing with adverse people who are not happy.
Right.
Because you catch them at the worst time. You catch them after an accident. You catch them after, I paid $100,000 for this camper. It rained and now I got water sitting in it. Mm-hmm. Not too happy. Not necessarily with you, but just the whole circumstance. You also have situations where I do that, but then I also help and manage a transition home for recovering addicts. And people were transitioning back into real life from prisons and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. And
so they have a different outlook on life than most people do, because they've been run through a system or they've been homeless. Some of my guys have been homeless for most of their life, since they're like 12 years old. He's latter almost 30 and been homeless since he's 12.
Right.
And so there's a bunch of adversity in just dealing with people that just either, number one, they hate you when you see it because of what you stand for, or number two, because they don't realize any other emotion besides anger and frustration and mm-hmm. now and stuff like that. So I got plenty dealing with adversity.
Can you describe a situation where you had to prioritize multiple tasks?
Yeah. I'm talking about if you don't prioritize tasks, you never get anything done.
Right.
I think just in general, you have to do that. Now, I think the real defining moment is what takes the priority. Mm-hmm. And there again, I think it's a matter of who you are and what you're doing. And everybody has different thoughts on things. Me personally, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on TV. I got God first, family second, no matter what. Because I got a job and my job pays my bills, but I'm working for my family to pay those bills.
Right.
I'm not working for the companies I work for. They're employed by them, but I'm not working for them. I'm working to provide for my family. And that is where my priority lies as far as that goes. Now, granted, my next priority is going to be my jobs, my town, and my community, because when things go downhill for you or you hit a rough patch in life, who do you turn to? You turn to God, you're going to turn to your family, and you're going to turn to your friends and neighbors. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it should be. And so you need to keep your relationships and your priorities in those areas. So turn to your town. Town's going to be there to help you. or should be, as best they can.
Should be.
Your churches should be there to help you the best they can. Your family should be there to help you the best they can. And that's where your priorities need to lie.
Can you tell me what your proudest accomplishment is?
Yeah, there again, it's gonna be my family. I ain't gonna lie. It's my wife, Norma. I'm talking about. My world is for her to a certain extent. My kids, I love each and every one of them. I adopted 3 of them. One of them is a stepdaughter, but yeah, they're my life. And then my grandbabies. I got 5 grandbabies. One passed away, unfortunately, but
sorry to hear that.
It's all good. It's all good. It's just a stepping stone. Better place. But now, that being said, that is the most priority thing in my life. But if it came to town aspects and stuff like that, I think it's more towards what's going to benefit the whole and not necessarily the one or two. What's best for the community as far as getting businesses into town, getting stuff for people to do into town, to get new families into town so that they have something to do when they get here. And I don't want to sound greedy, but keeping money in town. Because we get businesses that come in, and it's great, don't get me wrong, we need the businesses. But the catch is, so many people now have got to the point of, well, I'm not going to support the local businesses when I can go over here and maybe save a couple cents or save $1 or $2, which is great. I know you have to do that, but the more that you do that, the businesses in town are struggling, and so what they ended up having to do is having to increase prices. And you know, we fight so hard to get businesses in there that get supported for 6 months to a year, and then people are just like going about their business and then in turn that hurts their business. And it's just unfortunately, it seems to be the reoccurring theme in town that, you know, as soon as we get a business, it's great, but nobody wants to support the business. And you can't keep somebody, force them to keep a store open or to keep a drugstore open. If people are not going to go there, they can't stay there. It's, you know, it's not like somebody's paying, the people pay them to be there by shopping there. And unless you're willing to shop there, you could have 100 businesses opened up tomorrow, but if nobody goes to them, they're going to be closed down by the end of the year.
You have to have patrons.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that's what seems to happen more and more in Grifton. You know, they quit going to the drugstore when they want to go to Walgreens, and they can do it online. You know, now, should business change a little bit? I don't know. But I just hate it because we ain't got a drugstore. You know, liquor store. You know, no, I can't say people didn't patronize the liquor store. I never saw that not being patronized. I don't know why that shut down, but, you know, people like alcohol.
Who doesn't?
That's true.
What do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure or capital projects in the town of Grifton?
Well, you got bunches. But now, that being said,
the most pressing.
I'm going to give you a couple. I don't know if I can give you one in particular. It's all kind of wrapped
Bring
up
them
into
on.
one big old ball. But I want to start off with this one and saying that, please understand, I don't want to get it out there, but the town manager we got having in there right now is awesome. He's amazing.
Dylan Heyman, he's
he
been
is,
doing a good job.
Oh God, he's done an amazing job. I'm talking about, he is taking a bull by the horns, and I'm talking about he's wrestling that thing down big time. He's great, but I don't want to say it too loud because Grifton's always been a training ground.
He was a good hire.
Grifton's always been a training grounds for police and town managers to come here to get the training, but then somebody else scoops them up and takes them away. And our police force has done a great job, you know. And granted, it does go through, give a little credit to the mayor and the board. You know, we're able to vote and manage things to get them more money. Hopefully, hoping to get them stayed. But this is the first time we've had a full police force, and I don't know how long.
Well, under the leadership of Derek Dennis, the police force has been great.
He is doing a great job of what he's got and getting grants, and Dylan's doing a great job getting grants. And our new public work director, I'm talking about, he's finding stuff and bringing it to our attention that we never, as commissioners, we didn't know existed. And this is where I'm going with that, is our infrastructure. As you stated, Grifton's an old town. We've been there, I don't know what the founding is, but we've been there a long, long time.
Forever.
And unfortunately, our infrastructure has been there a long, long, long time.
Forever.
And you got anywhere from, I can't think of the terminology of it, but it's not much more than wood in some lines, you know, some of the older lines, to terracotta sewage lines, you know, like, looks like flower pots. It's the same material. They made, you know, sewer lines out of them, and you still see those in houses and you know, through town and stuff, and it's just, roots love to get into cracks and go in there, you know, so we got constant with the sewer. Our new public works director went out and done instead of waiting for phone calls to come in during that big quick rain we had, waiting for the phone calls to come out and take, you know, I got water standing in my yard, you know, come out here and take a look at it. He had the guys on the street in the rain looking for where the water's pulling up and taking care of it while it's doing it. Instead of, it was more proactive than reactive.
Right.
And so right now I got to give it to not only our police, our public works director, our town manager, our fire department, and everything, that we have a great system going right now. And that's just where it's, you know, that's our thing, is our infrastructure with between that and getting the pump stations up and running, which, you know, some of them were held together as you saw in the last meeting like we did. Some of them have fire hoses instead of having a permanent fix put up there.
Right.
And I don't know when it was done, never knew nothing about it. You just know it works. You know, the guy tells you, go, well, yeah, we went out there, we fixed it. You don't ask how, it's like, great. But now you get somebody in there that goes out there and takes a look at it and said, oh, it shouldn't have been fixed last just let's get it fixed right. And have somebody takes that pride in what they do is amazing. Am I getting close? Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
That brings me to my next question. Should the board be encouraging building and development in Grifton?
I don't think it ever hurts, personally. You know, we definitely need development. We need building, but we also need to make sure that all our systems can handle the growth. Because every time you put up a house or pave a road or put a driveway up, you got water that's got to go somewhere. And granted, we're talking about runoff now compared to sewage, but it's still part of your infrastructure. You got to be able to get that runoff that comes, instead of soaking into the ground now, it's going into your culverts and down your roads and making sure it goes somewhere that it's not damaging other people's property, causing sinkholes, and it gets on out to the creek and gets out of town. Because the longer it sits there, the worse it is. It's going to be mosquitoes. You're going to have, like I said, sinkholes, washed out driveways. You just got to make sure the water's got somewhere to go with all this new infrastructure, or buildings, got the infrastructure to handle it.
So it sounds like as long as it's smart growth, it's...
Yeah, you got to do it and pay attention to what you have going in and making sure that what you have can currently handle it without stressing it. And also be sure that in the case of 2 inches an hour or 3 inches an hour, you can handle it. You're always going to have those freak events, but you don't want it to tear up so much that it's just not cost effective to fix it.
Commissioner Barnes, what one part of town would receive more attention from you if elected mayor?
Me personally, there again, if I could give more attention to it, it's going to be from Queen Street towards the creek, because I think the creek is really a natural resource for us that can be capitalized upon personally. I think there's a lot of, not going to say development, but there's a lot of things that can be done. There's so much FEMA land back there. I think we could, you know, you can use FEMA land for parks or for recreation. I feel like they could hopefully maybe be able to utilize that to get activities for families and kids and youth to do, such as, if possible, maybe put a football field on some of the FEMA land, or a soccer field, or something along those lines, to give the youth something to do besides sit at home. And granted, there's time and a place for everything, but just instead of kids just sitting at home on video games and computers and telephones, you know, get them outside in the world and get them to experience the world a little bit, see bees, not just look at them on the TV, you know, to see them flying around in the habitats. I know food gardens typically don't work for public gardens. I've seen that with Kinston. Everybody thinks it's a great idea, but
sounds good.
It sounds great on paper, but nobody wants to. You got to have a certain class of clientele or citizens that want to do stuff as far as trying to grow their own food. Not everybody's down for that. They don't want to get their hands dirty. Not everybody, but it'd be great if it was an opportunity to do it. If you could get enough people to do it. But that's when I want to see community involvement kick in.
Commissioner Barnes, if elected, what is your primary goal to accomplish during your term as mayor?
Actually, I'd love to be able to increase, there again, the stuff in town for people to do. That you don't necessarily have to have it. You don't have to have sink tons and tons of money into things to give some stuff or give an opportunity for people to do stuff in town. You don't have to have $1 million park for kids to go play at. You know, Commissioner Kennedy and his wife have done amazing things as far as trying to get the parks revamped, and God bless them for it. They're doing great strides to it, but I just love to be able to see it not only there, but to carry on to other areas, not necessarily just St. David Street or Maddie's, to be able to get it to carry towards the creek and some of that empty land that we're just having to cut grass on.
What community involvement have you had in the last 5 years?
I have served on the board for a while, youth pastor for a local church. Fire department, I would say that. I was working on it, but man, people don't realize how much time and dedication these guys put in between the calls, the classes, the training, the meetings.
And it's a volunteer fire department.
And it's all 100% volunteer, and I'm talking about I was maybe seeing my wife like 2 nights a week because of not necessarily the fight, but by the time as you're starting out, you got to go get your training and your classes and stuff like that, and that'll tie up 2-3 nights every week.
Right.
And then on top of that, that's beyond the regular meetings and the class and the calls and stuff you got. And yeah, those guys are amazing. I got to give it hands down to them.
Commissioner Barnes, how do you think the city council should interact with town staff?
Nobody should feel like anybody's off limits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there's a chain of command and everything, but you should feel free to be able to talk to anybody about anything in that town at any time. Regardless of you being an employee, you should be able to voice your opinion without repercussions to a commissioner. You know, of course, I don't know if a commissioner could do anything. You could say something to the manager or something. Now, to a certain extent, don't be belligerent or anything, but if you got a concern or something like that, everybody's got an opinion, and that's how you might have a point I've never thought of before as an employee. Tell me. Because maybe it's something we can do something about. You know, it'd be great if we had such and such piece of equipment. Well, nobody's ever mentioned something. Let's see what we can do about helping you out. You know, so if nobody says anything, you got to be able to talk. You should be able to interact without fear.
Right. Members of City Council are frequently criticized in a public way. If you're the subject to public criticism, how would you respond?
Well, that's people's way of voicing an opinion, so you need to listen to them honestly and see what they're criticizing you about. Is it something I can change? Is it something I did wrong? Maybe you just don't know my side. I don't know your side. Did we really have that much of a difference in our vision? But there again, if people don't communicate, who knows? You know, you're going to get criticized. You can't make 100% of the people happy all the time. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be mad.
Right.
There's going to always be somebody that's upset. And unfortunately, this world with internet, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever else,
you're going to catch it.
You're going to catch it, and you got keyboard crusaders. And there again, unfortunately, some of them probably don't even live in town. They might not have been to Grifton. They just want to stir a pot about something that they can get the pot stirred about.
I've seen it.
And so, yeah, would a bit, and they just like messing things up for just see what happens. They like doing things like that. But if they got a valid point, hey, I'm all about it. Tell me. I get criticized. You get used to it after a while.
Commissioner Barnes, if there's anything else that you would like to express or convey directly to the citizens of Grifton, please take this time to do so.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is, you know, Grifton's a wonderful community. I love it with all my heart. And I hope that the citizens of Grifton, and I know we got a lot of new citizens, but I hope you develop the same love that I have for this community. But this is your opportunity and time to go out and to vote, whether it be for me, Billy Ray, Jackson, Miss Moore, or Mr. Lucas, just to go out and vote, make your opinion heard. This is your chance to speak your mind and hopefully place the people in the office that you want to. And you're doing it out of love for the community and for the town of Grifton.
Commissioner Will Barnes, running for mayor of Grifton. Thank you so much for watching Meet the Candidate. Have a good afternoon.